Hello and welcome to the next chapter, where we go beyond titles, headlines, and accolades to discover the true turning points of the change makers of today. I'm your host, Mishana Mohammed, and with this show, what I intend to do is to discover the turning points, the bold moves that helped today's innovators, creators, and industry leaders, write that winning chapter of that story. And today I'm very genuinely excited because I have with me someone who wears multiple hats and a crown, quite literally. So please welcome Dr. Isha Farah Qureshi, AI and Metaverse Innovation Evangelist, former founder and CEO of IFQ Technologies, and have extensive experience working with Fortune 500 like VMware, Dell EMC, Wipro, HP, GEMS Education, and currently working with one of the global leader and tech giant. She's a TEDx speaker, diplomatic peace ambassador, Mrs. Universe 2019 Solidarity, and a Forbes featured technopreneur. She's also an actress featuring in both Bollywood and regional movies. She's a professional classical dancer and an artist. And honestly, this is just tip of the iceberg. Dr. Isha, it's such a privilege to have you on the show and welcome to the next chapter.
Thank you very much for having me here.
My pleasure. So, when Safirka introduced us, Safir Najumuddin, the CEO of Talrope, introduced us, and I think we had a first call over a Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
The first thing that struck me was Kutti Malayaliya, right? So, let's start from there. Let's start from your first chapter. And again, this part where I connect is that you did your college in Irinalakoda. Even
Yeah.
I did mine in Christ. So it's a very special place.
So yeah, neighbors.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
So, how were your college days there? How were those formative years there? And again, follow up to your Bangalore days with the juggling between your job and your degree, and all of these in such a young age. So, what can you tell me about those experiences?
I think you have done extensive research on me.
Yes.
So, as you rightly said, the major change that happened in my life or a turning point or shaped me up for, facing the challenges of tomorrow or to even to take the success ladder of my life. College, my St. Joseph's College actually played a major role. And I'm still in touch with them and I'm still helping to the best of my ability to support the students of my college as well. So that's women college actually. So women's college has got its own advantage that even if you wanted to tie up a poster, as taller as 2-3 building up, there is no support for you. There's no
Do it yourself.
guys to come around and do the masculine works and girls sit around and do the small little tasks. That's not the case. No matter if it is a huge task or small task, you yourself have to pick up yourself, take the risk, take the challenge. That's how it was. So in my first year itself, I got a proficiency award for being the college topper, got a high score in university examination. So that itself gave me a lot of confidence. Until college days, I was like I'm like just an average student. Though I was so active in all the dance, arts, everything, but coming to that studious, label, that happened actually from my college days, indeed. So I elected as a fine arts secretary also because I was equally good in dance and arts and everything at that point and studies as well. But then by 3 years of my graduation, I learned everything, a lot about how to be independent. That was very important. And I felt I got enough freedom when it compared to my school days. And school days were actually like military classes. You were like, not you need to take permission even to breathe hard. So that was a kind of frustration I used to feel at that point. But then college was like I literally felt all the freedom to take your own decisions, etc. And then coming to a little bit on the political side also from the campus itself. And then that's when I got my selection or nominations to the chairperson that year. And the final year I was elected as a chairperson of my college as well. And I also participated for the student of the year competition. I won the title. So that's my first crown actually. My principal, ma'am, the crown which I was wearing from my college is the first step towards, okay, I can be a representative or I can be a face of a global forum. So that actually took me to Mrs. Universe, from student of the year journey to there. I'm not telling student of the year is never a pageant, but it's more about you, your ability, your skill, your popularity test, and at the same time they will look at the score as well. Are you good at your studies, and how well are you there. So it's like multiple combinations, voting, and live questions which is asked in the stage. Everything put together is what you are scored for it, and then the final round happens on the final uh, stage. That again will be subdivided into multiple rounds, etc. So that was my very first experience. It was not a ramp, it was more on your intellectual ability, completely cerebral ability, and your potential is what marked over there. So I tried to map that with the pageant as well. Yeah, of course, I think that gave me a lot of guts to face the audience, come to the talk, especially my campus political campaigns made me to talk to the forum. That was my first speech. I remember when I stand on the international forum, I remember that, the way that I was requesting for the vote, please vote for me.
Yes.
I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's like, yeah, you need to stick into that as well. But then, ability to get the control of the audience and to understand their need and mapping yourself with your ability to what they need, the way they perceive you, and getting a place in their heart is very important. When I say that, I remember in the popularity test, I was a star of the hearts as well. So there were multiple, recognition I got at that time, and the best student of Kerala award was also given to me by South Indian Bank. If you know, so they were facilitating this award for very studious and outstanding students. So because I was already a chairperson at the same time, the same year, I'm a student of the year. So this award also came to me. So this motivated me a lot. I started feeling that, oh my God, I'm something. I had something in me. There is an ability, the support system, the ecosystem. We have alumni here, and we have a UAE chapter for that, and I'm part of it. And very recently, few months back, the Department of Mathematics and Robotics, our students created a very advanced humanoid robot.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I was actually supporting the entire project end to end, and principal ma'am and the teachers, the head of the departments, they were totally involved in the entire project by itself, and the students successfully created a humanoid bot. It's called as Josephine because it's coming from St. James College, so Josephine.
Great.
And I coined the name actually for the everybody voted for that though. So Josephine means Joseph, AI, navigation and exploration.
Great.
That's a full thing. And it was launched by a very special person indeed, the Education Minister of Kerala,
Okay.
Bindu ma'am. She is also ex-alumni
Okay.
of
From
St.
St.
Joseph's. Yes. So there is no better person that I can ever think about, who can launch this. Education Minister of Kerala, who's also alumni at the same time. And she, on the launch day, she actually spoke in her speech, on your day, the ceremony, the union inauguration ceremony, where I was elected as a chairperson of my college. She was the guest at that point. She was a mayor of Thrissur at that point, and she was on the stage, and she still remember our conversation on the stage. She asked me, what do I want to become? And then I answered her that I want to be like you. And then she was telling me now that, I don't know, you are already grown so above what you were saying. And then today, she feel very honored and happy because now I came back to support the entire students to launch the humanoid bot. And she has become the, our iconic person to launch it. So this was like a story. And I totally believe that it's not just me, for any other person for that matter, your educational institution and your mentors, be it a teacher or be it your, coach or, your parent themselves. It's very important to build that foundation or building block in the right way. So many students, that is exactly where it is lacking. They might have an opportunity, but they don't know how to utilize it, or they may not be having an opportunity. That's exactly where our building block needs to be, giving them step to climb on. So that's why I love your organization, because you are creating that building block for the students who have a specific talent and bringing them up to climb their ladder, right? So this is where I connect. This is the story of St. Joseph's College.
Okay. So before we get into the Bangalore days, that part of the story, what I would like to ask in connection is that, so there is this misconception that I would like to call it, where we think it's the students from the tier 1 colleges that make it to the tech circles or the entrepreneur circle. But like you and me both, we have come from tier 3, tier 2 institutions, but you have reached to a global stage. You're representing those institutions on a global platform now. So would you agree with me that it is of course a misconception that it is only those from the tier 1 institutions can make it up there? And also this is one misconception, and again there is this mindset within maybe the tier 3, tier 2 students that we are from tier 3, tier 2, so let's stick on to getting a job and then getting a placement, and that's it, that's our limit. So how what would you like to tell to those students, or what would you like to tell to change that mindset? Plus, do you agree with me that it is indeed a misconception that it is just the tier 1 students who make it big?
It is indeed a misconception, but however, St. Joseph's College is now there for 50 years. Very iconic figures like not just our education minister, but then Savitri Lakshman or Meenakshi Tamban, to many other people. There are our alumni working in NASA, in BBC. There are very big iconic figures are there, and then we still conduct best alumni award every year. And last to last year it was me. Last year I did not apply, but last to last year it was me as the best alumni, where we are competing with even our alumni who are there in NASA. Imagine.
Okay.
So I feel that it's not the name, it's about your culture,
Sir.
the practice, the kind of education system that every institution follows. Of course, IIT, IIM or MIT, all this plays a major role. Harvard University, you are passing out from Oxford, and of course you carry the brand with you, and that will be easy for you to get your entry.
Sir.
Maybe the first entry to any global or corporate forum. Yes, of course, I agree to that. Totally agree to that. But however, uh, there onwards, once you have the key for the room, and after that, once you enter into the room, what you are, what do you carry within you plays the major role. Right? I never felt even for a second I am lesser in any manner, no matter if I have an MIT or a Harvard next to me. But I never felt anytime even 0.0001% lower, because again, it's your performance from there, what you bring to the table in your performance as a performance indicator in your career ladder, that makes a difference. However, I also feel that extra activities or extracurricular learning, especially the skill-based training, is very important for any students for that matter, because corporate is not looking for your pass-out certification.
Exactly.
They're not going to look that are you a 99.9% scorer, or are you a single digit scorer.
It's all about your
there
skills.
are people who I know that who have very weak in their studies, but who are so brilliant, like scientists. They come up with the very creative, innovative ideas, etc. Who are super successful today, who are like the most wanted, celebrated personalities across the globe, kind of a thing. So skill-based training is most important. Every industry, every corporate leadership is looking for that. Entrepreneurship is another line that any student can go forward. Entrepreneurship is again not your degree, it is your mindset.
Exactly. Yes. So, coming back to the Bangalore chapter, right? So, you were doing your masters, you were also working, I think, full time. Yes. So, and all of these at a young age, you were supporting your family as well. So, was there ever a moment where you just wanted to hit pause and just take a break, or you didn't? And what was that thing that kept moving? Because I think when we talk about the chapters, I think that was a very important chapter of your life, right? Like a turning point. So what helped you get through all of the juggling?
Yeah. So, give up mode, or you wanted to take a pause, that happens very often.
Mhm.
I'm sure that if somebody says that you never felt even for a second, then that's a big lie. I would say that because there are instances that you may get very disheartened, disappointed. Is it worth to put this effort or not? Am I not okay? Am I okay? It is okay to feel that. That's what I feel. It is definitely okay to feel that. And failures are required for you to get the taste of what the disappointment means. If you're only a person of success and then success, and again you're getting a success, you can never handle failure. You are not a successful person at all. And every successful person today, I'm sure that they had their own story to say, their own disappointments to say, their own tears and the pain and, stressful chapters to explain. Without that, I don't think so that you will be able to succeed. So, only difference is that majority of the people on the disappointments, they give up.
Mhm.
The people who succeed are the only one who goes through that pain. I'm ready to face that disappointment and then I fight through it. It's like it's about how soon you get back to your feet determine your success criteria. I say this in most of my talks. So disappointments, problems, issues, it comes. You will be solving one issue, another issue will be waiting for you
Exactly.
in a bigger magnitude and gravity.
Yes.
You solve that, and there is another one. There is. I don't think there is something. I really want to have understand what is peace. So please explain me what is peace. It's like I try every time to achieve the peace. That is important. That is my birthright.
Yes.
Everybody's birthright. But then also remember that you being in a very dormant stage and very stable stage is not the success.
Mhm.
You being in a very unstable and agile mode, which is like an isotopes that you say, which is not a saturated molecule, that is exactly where you have tremendous energy to explore. So you need to be in that mode to be on a success time. Yeah, probably for another 5-10 years, I really wanted to be in this mode. And then later I will see if I want to be in a very calm, down, settle.
But that's your peace, right? You find peace in the chaos there. But so I think that's the perspective. That's the perspective of a winner, of a successful person. I mean, even at Tal Group, when we are training our students, or we are training students right from fifth grade in entrepreneurship, right? We get this question: why them? Why now? Why in fifth grade? But when we talk about that it is the right age to grasp the technology, or it is the right age where they don't have any other tensions, it's the right age to innovate. I think one more very important factor is this, that it is the right age to face failures and learn. Because as you mentioned, without facing failures, when something small happens, right, there's this huge blaming mindset that comes in you, so much negativity that comes in you. I think that which leads the way into so much other trouble. So I think one of the key factors why we should introduce these kind of entrepreneurship into students, school students, is that they get a taste of failures, and they learn how to use that as the next like
The lessons learned.
exactly. Yes. So you have led and worked at some of the big companies, some of the big Fortune 500 companies, right? So what is that one leadership lesson or a mindset lesson that you believe you have learned from these places, and that you still carry with you, you apply to everything in your life and your entrepreneurial ventures and everything?
Right. So if you compare the entrepreneurship with an employment, it is like a two different realm. It's not talking to each other. Yeah. But then, yeah, personal skills. To be what I felt, from the college pass out to direct getting into an entrepreneurship, I have seen lack of certain qualities on a direct entrepreneurship from the campus itself, in the people, in the long journey. I'm not saying it's always wrong, but it is mandatory to have some experience in the corporate or some work experience before you jumping into an entrepreneurship is what I strongly believe. Because end of the day, your clients or customers are also going to be an entrepreneurs, or it could be a corporates for that matter. So to understand their culture, their work attitude, and their expectations is so very important, that you being in that ecosystem for a while. Now, what I learned from my work experience in the past 15, 16 years is that every single organization taught me different lessons indeed. There were instances that you are fed with every super 5-star facilities around you, but you don't have a the piece that I was talking about, where you will be completely messed up, unorganized, you don't know what's your next step. So then you will figure out a way to discipline yourself. You put all the broken pieces to create something meaningful, and that will bring some value to the table, to the system, etc. But then one message that I always say, no matter if it is an employment or a corporate, or even as a own business owner or an entrepreneur as well, it is about a supportive ecosystem that I've been stressing it every talk of mine. I always reiterate this point. It is a supportive ecosystem. If you are a leader, you have a people who reporting under you to create that supportive ecosystem for you, so that you need to give them also that comfort, or to be there to support each other. So on I and you cannot win alone, right? It's always the win together by a team. This is how the result comes out. And it comes to entrepreneurship as well, not just your team, but it also extends to your customers, partners, vendors, and all your other stakeholders, outside stakeholders, inside stakeholders, internal, external. So all these things actually plays a major role. So as a whole, I would say that it is all about keeping the people together, tied with you. And for that, you should be a provider, so that you would be able to extract the best out of your resources. So again, coming back to the same term, supportive ecosystem.
I like the word, where you extract by providing, right? You provide first and then you extract, right?
Yes.
So you also co-created a startup in the AI field, which was merging research, inclusion, enterprise all under one roof. So what was that spark for you to create a startup or a brand in the field of AI on your own? Also, working in this field of technology and startups, I know uh, how difficult it is to keep up with everything that's happening in AI. There is something that is coming up every second. So how do you, as a person, individually, how do you stay updated on everything that's happening in tech and AI? And also, how do you particularly distinguish between the trend and what exactly is needed for transformation, right? So these two questions, that is, what was that point, what was that spark for the startup in AI, and how do you stay yourself updated in the field of AI?
Right. So I think entrepreneurship mindset is a part of your DNA. So that comes in. So even if you are an individual contributor in a company, also, you will work with an entrepreneur mindset. This is very important. This is your organization. This is your territory. This is your business. This is your product. This is your baby. So that attitude, if you have, you will be applying that everywhere in any role, whatever hat that you wear. So for me, my roles in different organization actually given me an understanding about who I am, what I am, and what my future needs to be. And my technology being my first preference and my passion throughout my life, I always wanted to do something in that. Yeah, of course, for me, a group of companies or different kinds of businesses is what I'm looking at, not only just technology, but I also own a production company back in Mumbai. I'm actually a registered Bollywood producer, but even though I have not produced anything, but that is my roadmap for if not today, tomorrow. So that's of course my aim. I have my own foundation as well. So a couple of things which I wanted to do around, it's an entrepreneurship on a business aspect. Wanted to have multiple industries, which wherever that I feel there is a need, where I can provide and where I can run. So that identifying what could be the right business at the right place at the right time is very important in entrepreneurship. So if you're good at something, like I'm not good at mining or manufacturing, I don't want to go ahead and create a manufacturing company or petroleum company, because I don't have no idea about that. What I'm good at is technology. So which is exactly why I wanted to have my own business which is in technology. And of course, I had a challenge here because it's a very funny fact. Also, you will love to hear it. I'm sure you will have some comment on it. By the way, uh, it's like most of the women, when we say entrepreneurship, it will be like a boutique. It will be like a saloon, or it's good. It's all
Yes,
good.
yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
But taking the risk to come to the technology industry or the field is percentage is very less, and people are not ready to do that. I'm not sure why. I would say technology is the best thing that you can actually think about having your own business, because technology never dies, right? As you rightly said, one technology come today, within another second another version comes in. The same thing, this next version comes in. By the time I prepare something, you're already ready with a better version of that. So this has become, technology war has become a trend across the geographies. If you ask me about the trend, it's not about organization to organization. It has become a prestige of the country by itself, political leaders by itself. So, which uh, actually AI plays a major role as well. I'll come to that later. But when I talk about this, women entrepreneurship and women in tech, this goes hand in hand. So me coming into technology industry was a challenge for me, and then it was very hard for the people to believe. Even when at the airport, if I give my um, you know, Emirates ID or something. And, there are instances they had cross questioned me, especially back in India. I had a very smooth travel experience in this country, UAE, but back in India, especially in Delhi, because I was traveling multiple times in the same week, 4 5 times. I'm traveling across India, like Delhi to Mumbai, Mumbai to Chennai, Chennai to Kerala, Kerala to again Mumbai, then again Delhi. So, it's like they were asking me, why are you traveling? I said, I'm an entrepreneur, and it's very difficult with my outlook, the way I look, for them to believe an entrepreneur, that to a technology, and that to a CEO, etc. So it was, I have to explain, and made them to Google me. I said, I'm a Mrs. Universe, I'm this is it, all these things, to explain them. It took like half an hour to 45 minutes to make them understand what am I, and justify my travel for no reason. For no reason. This is how it is. So that is another thing. And I had my co-founder earlier, who was looking like a very elderly person. Whenever I go with him for a meeting, people always misunderstand that he's the CEO of the company, I'm his secretary. And this is a judgment mentality of the people. Why women cannot be a CEO of a technology company? That too, a young vibe cannot be a CEO of a technology company. So this mindset require little bit of change for sure.
Yes.
I really want young generation to get into entrepreneurship, and that too in technology, that too on innovative technology.
So coming back to, how do you keep up with the trends in AI?
Yeah. So, as I rightly said, by the time you're done with the proof of concept or POC for one specific technology, there is a smart person than me who would have already created by now. So it's very difficult for you to, identify the requirement and do the research, and you have no time for that actually. So, by the way, every industry today, every company today they got allocated budget. They all are doing R&Ds and research in AI, how I can be a player in AI, how I can incorporate AI. It has also become a prestige factor for the companies themselves, like, we are an AI company.
What are you doing in AI?
Yeah, yes, of course. I think every company ask each other, what is the development happening? Do you have any AI roadmap? What are you doing something new in AI? So this is very important. Now that this is the right time to capture without wasting in a minute, to capitalize their, the need of the hour, and then bring the best in AI. But keeping in mind that, you will at least spend 5 to 6 months on creating a proof of concept by creating from the scratch. If you are a ready product company, and then there is no worries about it, you just hitting the market directly for the required industry or respective industry. But then if you're building it from the scratch, or if you are creating some AI product or IP by yourself, keep that in mind. After 6 months or after 1 year, what would be required then, not what you require now. If you start creating something what is required now, you will be outdated by then, by the time that you hit the market. So this is only the way that you can catch up with that speed. Think about future, come up with future ready product. So that's the only way that you can cope up with this trend.
The trend. Yes. So, at Talrob, we work very heavily on having this parallel education system, not an education system, but working in parallel with the education system, where we get to give the students an insight into the industry, right? Where we like to bridge this industry academy gap. And that is where I think, again, one more thing that we resonate with is your vision to, make education accessible globally for every last child. That is something that we very much resonate with. So, in this world where even in many geographies, even now, tech is still a privilege, right? How do we design AI powered solutions, or any solutions for that matter, to ensure that we don't leave the last child behind, that we ensure that education reaches to every continent, every single child?
So education is a primary right of every child indeed. And you already know there are billions of children who do not have an education or access, especially the higher percentage is goes to girls. So countries like Africa and of course I'm sure many parts of India still children are not going for education, but rather they are working. Even though the child labor is a uh, banned across the world, but they have no other go. But at least if the parent need to go and earn one time food, they need to take care of their younger child or the brother or sibling, and they need to sit at home. So either ways, they are denied access to the education system. When I was working with GEMS Education Corporate Head Office, the chairman of GEMS, Mr. Sunny Waki, he keeps saying a fact that, building brick and mortar schools in every corner of the planet. He is a builder of schools himself, and he's saying this: building brick and mortar school in every corner of the planet is impossible. That is not the way that we will be able to spread education in every place or every world. So he himself says that technology is the only way to make education accessible. And I strongly believe that probably that is a spark which as I have gained from him, which I once I'm out of GEMS education, I continued that journey to see how we can do it. So Hope Africa is something like where we have health, opportunity, people, and education. Education plays a major role over there. Working with a couple of NGOs in that regard, to bring in education. And I'm talking about the country where they don't even have an electricity.
Okay.
Forget about distributing an iPad or a laptop for an education system to be built over there. The only way is that you don't have a basic necessities there. Then how are you talking about education system? So this is I alone cannot do anything. It's our system. Our entire system of the world needs to be changed. World should go from this dimension to another dimension to go into it. It's like richer is richer and poor is always a poorer kind of a uh, system that we are living. So this balanced ecosystem to bring into it, I believe uh, organizations like United Nations or education institutions like yours or education institutions like GEMS who are coming up with a wing to support education for poor and needy in the freemium model. When I say it's not a premium, it's talking about a freemium model. And the municipal schools, and I'm sure that India is playing a major role over there in educating the kids who are underprivileged in the municipal schools. And education is the best part about India is this: education is free.
Exactly.
For us, the education is free for the municipal schools. But then the quality of education was a few years back was a question. But right now, I believe even the municipal schools are coming up with innovation lab. They have a robotic lab, which is amazing change. I love that.
Yes.
So this is required. This has to be taken as a role model for rest of the world as well. A lot of money is getting pumped in millions and billions to countries like Africa, but we don't know where it is going, whether it's actually reaching the right people. The personal, the drinking water sanitization to having a common library to access. Everything needs to be done,
Exactly.
from the drinking water to everything needs to be done. So that require a lot of change. While we are also talking Africa as the biggest market for the revenue generation and the whole business for the next few years, but we also need to know there are parts of Africa where we don't even have access to electricity or a sanitized water. So this is a irony. I don't know what to say. It's like contradicting subject indeed. But then, yeah, there are certain organizations who are part of UN bodies or sub bodies. Because one of our SDG goal is quality education, right? So based on and I also believe quality education can also cater to many other things. Right from the child abuse to the care to feed to multiple other SDG goals can be cured,
Achieved by
achieved by achieving this education aspect. So there was a concept which is again given by the sub entity of the United Nations of Africa. She was talking to me with her, His Excellency, who was also the mayor. They came onto the call with us on Zoom. The idea was to have funding for a metaverse learning, an AI tutor and a metaverse learning, where the students of Africa who cannot go to Texas or any other country and then do higher education, but they will also get the feel that, using the headset and other gadgets that they can actually access to, that they are also listening to the entire class with the high quality, high expert professors from the universities in USA and things like that. This was a project that they wanted me to be part of. To on the technology aspect, it was a consortium of 4 to 5 companies, where some are providing the education, some are providing the staffing, some are providing the technology aspect. So I was one of them who wanted to provide the technology platform so that we can help African students to be accessing the live classes which is happening in the very premium universities in other countries. Yeah.
Okay. So, coming again to this country, to UAE, right? What are your experiences working with the government bodies and more generally the support from the government? This government is very much known for its support towards, especially in tech, be it in tech, in entrepreneurship, in inclusivity. So, what is your experience, working with the government bodies and the kind of support this government provides for these kind of activities?
UAE is an exciting place to live and work with as well. I feel that the kind of effort which I would have put in my country to be what I am today, it is much lesser and easier here, because UAE, first of all, being a woman, UAE is the safest place in the whole planet for a women who are in the film industry or fashion industry or art industry, technology industry, be it anything, any job, small job to a premium job, women gets the insurity of the safety. So that itself gives a lot of freedom to explore any industry for that matter, right? And I also feel that in this region, every single day, government is looking forward for people who can bring value to my country. And which is exactly why a lot of privileges, a lot of platforms, a lot of facilities, a lot of grant programs, a lot of funding, even empowering, everything is happening in every levels for innovations, creativity, technology, in anything that if you have a content, country is ready to accept it. And if you have a skill, you are a winner. You will get platform to win. So I'm like so feeling honored and feel gratitude to this country for giving me the privilege to be something over here, at least to build my career or to build my family, my personal life, the kind of lifestyle that I'm able to achieve here, and my passion and ambition as well. So UAE is the only country when it comes to technology with an AI minister. I think I heard that there are a few other countries trying to follow that trend to have an AI ministry. And if you remember, it was like 3 years back in one of the event which happened in Kerala. It was a technology expo where I was talking on stage about UAE is only country with the Minister of AI, and they thoughtfully did that because I'm sure they will come with an AI law. If you look at in the few months back, it was an announcement saying that even the law is coming with an AI aspect because AI is a player for data. So data is a new currency. So the more data you have, you are the richest person in the world.
Yes.
So mean to say, if you have a quality data, if you have the right data, it can actually give a lot of things that can be eliminated and efficiency can be bought in using AI platforms like AI technology. So this country is very much open for that. Not just that, this country is preparing for quantum computing as well in a big level. AI can subside for a while, and then quantum computing could be the next big thing. And the country is already prepared
for it.
There is a strategic relationship, there is a diplomatic relationship that this country is keeping with the other countries' leadership and organizations, inviting a lot of investments from companies like um, you know. I don't want to name the companies, but all the tech sharks and giants, they are ready to invest into the Middle East, and especially UAE is one such hub that everybody would want to come in. Another trick also, people love to start their businesses in UAE and spread their wing across as well because it has got a very high power, and with one single trade license, that the process is so easy in this country. Promoting the entrepreneurs in any industry for that matter, with that single paper, you can be a millionaire, billionaire tomorrow, can create wonders in this country.
Yes, I mean, with the conclave that Talrop did in association with Kalish Times last month, and you were a panel speaker. So the kind of reception that we received, right, for our concepts like Techie Spark, Village Park, and our global campaign, like build in UAE, scale in India, expand globally, because this is the perfect country with its supportive system that it has. It's the perfect country to build assets from, to build real digital assets from, and India being the super the consumer ecosystem it has, and then how do you scale it internationally or into the global market. So that was a campaign we launched, and for all of these programs, the kind of reception we received from the Arab community, from and the best part is that you have all the international community in this one hub, right?
That is exactly what I
So
was.
yes, the kind of exposure, the kind of reception, the kind of validation you receive from the entire globe because you are there in this one hub, that is just again magical. Yes.
In your workplace also, you will see an Egyptian sitting in front of you, you will see an American sitting on your left, and you will see Jordanian sitting over here, Saudi maybe at the back, and it's like you have this kind of a space. You will see at least 4 to 5 nationalities sitting together and having food
Exactly.
with the harmony, going for a lunch, having a wonderful time and working together for a common cause. So you get to mingle with every nationalities, and that could also bring new synergies to explore in their countries, expand your businesses, or something new to come in, new investments to come in, new business ideas that can generate. I heard that AWS, entire idea of AWS started with a small tissue paper on a coffee table. So anything can happen anytime, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. So coming to this one point that you mentioned before, with where you had to um, you know give, where you had to explain yourself for the travel that you did, on your profile, where you had to explain your profile, right? So again, you were crowned Mrs. Universe Solidarity, and you're also a founder. You are someone who is in the tech space, and these two worlds that are very pretty uncommon. There could be people in the space, but it's pretty uncommon, right? So first thing, how did Mrs. Universe happen? What was your path to that? And second, how do you maintain both of this? I mean, and you do it with so much elegance, right? So you mentioned one situation where you have to explain yourself. Have there been any other blockers, and how do you do it? How and I think it's it might also would have been an advantage, right? Because you get, maybe either one could provide you more platforms where you can promote the other one also. So how has that journey been?
You actually got the point. That is exactly where there is always a misunderstanding as well. So my journey towards Mrs. Universe was not planned at all. It was just like serendipity. It was just on the go. So I always believe that, it's a good problem to have when you have more opportunities. Welcome the opportunity. Take every opportunity that you have. Don't miss anything. You can always decide between this and this. That's fine. Maybe you wanted to eat apple or you want to eat orange. It's in your hand. But get your apple, get your orange in your bucket.
Yes.
So that's very important. So I always set milestones in my journey. So when it comes to my career opportunity, I know I'm a born artist because from my childhood I'm a trained classical dancer. I've been doing a lot of anchoring, shows, etc. from my childhood. So I know that there is an artist inside me. I've done movies as well lately. So, but at the same time, I'm very good in technology also. Like, I'm not ready to give up any of this. I want to have both my passion and profession at the same time. So when I did my the first thing, Mrs. Kerala, I hardly say that anywhere, but then yeah, that maybe after my Student of the Year crown, it was a Mrs. Kerala crown which I gotten, and I was a runners up indeed. And then from there, it was a challenge also for me. I'm not happy with the runners up because I know I'm the winner. And then for some unfortunate reason, if the crown has skipped out of my hand, then I need to prove that I'm 100 times better than that crown. So that spirit, that challenge, that actually sparked me up, fired me up, and then I moved into Mrs. International. I won the Mrs. International title, which happened in UAE indeed. And then from there, I got selection to both Mrs. World and Mrs. Universe also. So Mrs. World was a very short duration that I had, just like 2 months or 3 months. So, but Mrs. Universe, I had around 8 months in my hand.
Okay.
So I thought that now I didn't have a US visa at that point. So I was confused whether I need to go here or here. And then my mentor also told me, go for Mrs. Universe title because that will come with more purpose.
Okay.
Yes, but if you're focusing more on your fame, and then probably Mrs. World is suiting you. But because of your philanthropic journey, probably Mrs. Universe suits you better.
Okay.
And then I have 8 months of time to prepare. So then I decided, okay, I'm going for that. And then I had a technical challenge as well. Indeed, the country law was not permitting me to officially represent UAE as a country in Mrs. Universe.
Okay.
I think right now I have seen participants coming in the past 2 years or 3 years now. But when I was going in 2019 December, and it is like 2019 20, right, just in the mid, I was not getting an NOC or no objection certificate from the government to participate or represent UAE legally on a Middle East or on a Mrs. Universe platform. So I had to go to the tourism department, art department, went a lot of applications, lot of requests, emails, everything was going on because I have seen people just going for the sake of representing it without any legal papers, and which I don't believe to go that way.
Yes.
So I got an approval to represent Middle East instead of UAE because UAE NOC was not something that I would be able to get it, and Middle East is the only way. And Mrs. Universe was not ready at that point, telling that there is no candidate can be represented as a Middle East. We have already awarded you as a UAE candidate, and it's very difficult. Then I said, very unfortunately, then I need to withdraw my participation, and probably maybe next year I will try from India. So, but India, there was already a participant. Then they came back after 5 days or 6 days of their internal discussions, and then they said that we finally agreed to retain you in the team, and you can represent Middle East. Your new sachet printed in Middle East will be shipped tomorrow. I was like, oh my God, never expected that. And that was a point that I decided, okay, I'm going, let's book the ticket now. So then that's when Mrs. Universe happened, and I had 92 friends from 92 countries coming in. It's like amazing time. The grooming, the sessions that you learn, different culture, and you yourself, it's a secret, okay? You feel like, oh my God, am I good? Am I better? Am I talking better? Of course, I know this is tough, but then that gives you a lot of confidence.
Yes.
And then sisters, I call it a sisterhood. All sisterhood were like so supporting each other. Some will be having some health issues. Everybody will run for it. Some will be with so much stress. Somebody's dress was not okay. Then everybody's jump over there. And on the backstage, the kind of, we all hold our hands each other and we like, don't worry, don't worry, everything will be okay, okay. So there's a lot of teamwork. There's a huge competition, but everybody know one is better than the other. And then you yourself wanted to feel or believe that I am the best.
Exactly.
I'm the best of all. So I'm sure that everybody will be thinking the same way.
Without dragging anyone down.
Yes,
Support.
without dragging. She's amazing. I want to be 1 point above
Yes.
that amazing, So that spirit also keeps you evolving you as a person. And okay, you have a score in everything. The way that you talk, the entire grooming 10 days of your camp, the way that you behave with others, the way that you are supportive for your friends in the system, everything is being monitored. And there is a score for everything, not just how you look, how your skin is, how's your hair, how you walk. And yeah, of course, the most important thing is how you answer spontaneously, and whether you have some opinion about the outlook about the world. Are you aware of the world that you're living in, or you are just a pretty face? The pretty face have no value over there. It's
Beauty with
completely,
brains.
it's completely your when I say beauty, it is about your inner beauty
Inner
and the way that you carry yourself, the way that you radiate outside. That's what the beauty here means. And with your intelligent capacity, and you should have an opinion about everything under the sun, is what I say. And especially if you're a woman, you need to know everything under the sun, right from the small to the big thing. You need to have some opinion about it, right? So if you don't know, you try to learn something about it. This is very important. So at least the basic things are very important. So this is my universe journey. And then Mrs. UAE United Nation also, I was awarded. The United Nation competition is still open for me. This year I couldn't go, but if I want, I can go 2026 as well. The opportunity is open for me. I'm still deciding, do I really need to go or
Love
not?
to see you though. Would love to see you there. So again, one more thing that struck the chords with me is that you are a professional trained classical dancer, and your mother is a Kalamandalam artist, which I just came to know from the research that I was doing. So that was, that is again somewhere that I connect. I also have done like 14 years of classical dance training, and I know firsthand that how much exposure it gives you, how much stage confidence it gives you. So again, with everything that you said right now, right, it's all about how you carry yourself, not just on the stage, with your colleagues, with your team members, with your startups. Because again, as you mentioned, there are difficulties in being a woman in tech or being a woman in leadership anywhere. There are one or the other challenges you face. So it's all about how you carry yourself. So can you say that yes, this kind of a classical dance training, or having that cultural experience from your mother has helped you in grooming yourself, in the way that you carry yourself, in the way that you
Yes.
present yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel that, I look upon my mom, to be what I am today. She had nurtured me a lot in many aspects. And when it comes to dance, of course, she is a very disciplined person. Even now, she's like a early bird. I love to sleep sometime till 10 a.m. Saturdays and Sundays, but she's not that. She's up and running by 7 or 8. Everything, all her duties are over. That discipline that carries, she keeps saying that there's a music sadagam that starts at 5 in the morning, so they are supposed to get up like 4, have their morning, all the activities by 5. They go for the music session, and after that they come back and have the breakfast by 6:30. Imagine the kind of discipline that they are in. I was like, I would never go. I don't want to get up every day at 4,
Yes.
and I don't know how they have done it. So I think this is exactly where even the martial arts, be it a karate, be it any kind of a traditional training, this is exactly, it's a scientific learning, right? So that's how they follow. So probably that is some of the influences that I would have got it. And as a dancer, this is very important, that to be disciplined and spiritual connection. I would say that this is very important. I think most of the dancers are spiritually connected. There is a high aura I believe in the spiritualism a lot. I'm a deep believer. I'm a certified pranic healer also, by the way. Here's my way. But I don't. I'm not practicing it just out of curiosity and just for understanding what it is, just to connect what my definition of God is, what the religion and the spiritual aspect is. So what I'm trying to say is that you being into those kind of an art or artistic nature, you're automatically connected to the god and that power that is somehow that will keep on feeding you every now and then. You feel that that strength is always there, and you feel like praying all for every single moment of your life, all good achievements or bad achievements, you'll be thanking god for everything that you have, right? So that my spiritual connection completely came from her for sure. And of course on discipline aspect it came. And also I want to tell you something, especially the Indian brains are so very demanding across the world today. In every different businesses or industries or innovations or creativity, one of the main reason is that I'm sure that you know that from the childhood we are too much focused on other activity,
Yes.
along with the education.
Yeah.
And that develops your brain a lot. And a child until the age of 7, this is so very important that he engaged in multiple activities so that he gets room to think. The brain capacity is increased, the memory capacity is increased, thought process is increased, so this is like a especially coming back to the dance, there is a all your senses are under control.
Exactly.
And your eyes, your hand, wherever your eyes are, there comes the hand. Or the same goes to how your body structure and the body postures that you are maintaining. At the same time, you need to keep in mind about the talam, bhavam, ragam, everything, So this is like a combination of multiple things put together to bring, that essence of it. So I feel this has got a greater impact on any child's growth and capacity. And for me also, being a dancer has literally helped me to grow my ability and skill.
Okay. Yes. So I can advocate to everything that you have said, and every other dancer out there can.
Yes.
So you are a mother, a founder, a creator, a speaker, so many roles, right? So from one woman to another, or more like one human to another, right?
Yeah.
What do you do on those days where you don't want to be everything to everyone, where you are, burnouts are real, like you mentioned before. If someone said it's not, they would be lying. So what do you do on those days? What is that thing that connects you back? Like it could be your people, your family, or as you mentioned, your spirituality, or maybe gym, running, any such practices.
Dance practices, of course, is something is gives me my own space. But you know what? It's a very good question, and I think everybody who are going through the stress and the work pressures every day in day out should do that. The meditation which actually helps you to calm you down and to come out of all the 5 days of your hectic days is very important. So for me, spending a good quality time with Emir, my child, and family gives me a lot of break. I look forward for holidays here and the weekends, and then definitely that's a very good time that I spend with, and I play with him. I sit with him and play very small games, and that gives a lot of mental relaxation. But in spite of all that, as you said, you don't want to be anyone, right? If you want to be just like a me time is also very important. There are instances that I was in a situation that I'm not able to take decisions of my life, and very very broken stages of my life which I have gone through. Have taken a break for myself, like maybe 1 or 2 days, but then you are not connected with anybody, not even with your child, and your phones are switched off. But pen and paper, that was the only thing that I had. But you write it down, whatever that you wanted to do, whatever you have done, figure out your mistakes and plan. Once I come out of this room tomorrow, I'm going to be this kind of a version, and these are the things that I wanted to do, and these are the things that I wanted to cross and get away from. So that exercise is very important, that I learned actually from one of my Mrs. Universe forum. There is a practice called Mauna,
Okay.
and that was a different style, but some of the essence I have taken it in my own way. And then this me time is very important. Either you go for a solo trip, you go to the beaches and sit for hours alone, it's okay, or do whatever that you want, but give some space for yourself and start loving yourself. You're not that bad.
Mhm.
Whatever that things that are gone through, it's not because of you, it's because of circumstances, because of the people, because of a situation. It is okay. And for a time that you feel that you are why me, why only me, that these are all very common. Many of them don't want to admit it. Why you don't want to admit it? You have
Happens for
gone through
everyone.
these situations.
Yes.
It's okay to feel that, but come out of it.
Yes.
Don't sit in that point. Come out of it.
Get back up. Yeah.
Get back, and then go with a full swing. And for that, you may require a time to heal and come out. So for that, if you're completely, your brain is occupied around, it takes a longer time for you to take that twist from the worst to the best. But if you take a time for yourself, the process will be faster to turn from the bad to the worst, to the worst to the best.
So I know that you do a lot of activities with your alma mater, and you try your best to involve and groom the students back at St. Joseph. So I was very lucky to have built this mission within Talrope that is called Empower Her, where we traveled from each campus to campus, interviewing and selecting the most active students in their final years and giving them a 1 year free internship, where we were giving them exposure in all the departments, be it media, digital marketing, tech, everything. So they understood, right? Like, okay, this is what I want to do. So what, this I want to be a project manager. I want to be in the digital marketing space, and then they get to converse with the real industry experts from these domains, right? So what I found very surprisingly and very happily was that there were so many students, so many female students with so much potential, right? They were just waiting for that one opportunity. And
Absolutely.
very gladly, we have been able to place so many of them in our own system and in other systems. So, uh, what would you like to tell to, those 18-year-old girls in college uniforms back in Kerala? What would your message be to them?
That's a very good question also, because uh, our parents' mindset have not completely changed yet. If I'm going back to Kerala, still in my family and relatives, I have seen girls who are 18 years old still married, and the girls who are in the college who are still pregnant, carrying, going through the maternity. Come on. Being a mother is not a small decision. It's not just accidentally you got pregnant because you got married to a man, and then you are listening to the class every day, preparing for your exam every day because you have a full baby inside, and then you're undergoing those stress, and then somehow you passed the exam, somehow you delivered your baby, and then you sit at home. Come on, I don't understand this logic. Maternity phase is the most beautiful stages of a woman life, If you're mentally prepared that you want to be a mother, that's the best time that you can do. But many situations it might not happen. But that you are already pregnant now, you need to enjoy your maternity journey. Every month is amazing. Every month you will feel something new happening in your body, the baby movement. You will be preparing for the arrival of that king or the queen in your life. This has to be not with an anxiety. The Asian mothers are going through anxiety, not enjoyment. But I have seen the Western culture, all the mothers are enjoying their journey of pregnancy for the 10 months. So I have seen in Kerala, still the trend has not changed much. But yes, huge changes there. But ambitious students are still less. I've recently visiting my college also. I was telling them the same story. If you want to, um, you know, just come for the sake of a degree certificate, don't come. You make something by yourself. Tomorrow, I have seen in my class who are one of the top competitors of me in my class who are very good scorer have not reached anywhere. And I have even supported financially, and I cannot even imagine her in that deep situation, scary situation that she is in. She's not capable of handling a job in spite of she's 95, 98, 99 kind of a girl. Okay, out of 100 kind of a score. Her parents were also professors, by the way. I don't know how that happened, but then um, she chose her own guy it's a wrong partner in her life anyways, but she's not even able to get a good job. How is that? Because she did not go for her higher studies the way it should be. So this is very important. Every girl should have some kind of a vision or mission in your life. Don't just wait for the sunrise and sunset and you do the assigned task of you. Okay, get up, pack your food, go to class, come back and sleep, do the assignment. No, you should have some journey. You should know that I need to get a job, and if I'm getting a job, I need my salary to be from this range to this range, and in the next 2 years I want to be at this position, and in the next 5 years I want to be in that company, or I want to migrate to this country. Please be financially independent, and this is very important. Please don't live with the money in somebody else's pocket. That pocket can be empty anytime, or that person cannot be there in your life at any time. Good, bad, ugly, you have to be prepared yourself to feed your baby yourself, to feed yourself. At least to take care of your basic necessity, you need a job. After you getting into a very bad situation, most of the women who struggle today are single mothers who got into a wrong relationship, may not be that great with the financial background in the parents' side, but most of them getting into a worse situation of their life from Kerala because they are ending up in a wrong family life and they need to be taking an independent stand and which they are not capable of. And where that needs to be corrected? From education. You need to have a beautiful married life. You need to have a beautiful kid. Everybody wish that, but we don't know what's in store for us. So only thing which will not leave us is your educational degree, right?
Yes.
So you need to be, have your own bank account. Some people don't even have a bank account in your name. Can you imagine this in this time? They are pass out, they are totally dependent on a husband's money. They don't have a bank account in their name. Even today, they don't have an ATM. You may be using husband's ATM. For what? For every single thing, can I ask money? That's not the thing, right? So that nurturing should happen from mothers and fathers. I am glad to say the millennial generation of us who are the parent today are so keen and looking forward for our children to be empowered.
Exactly.
But our parental generation, we cannot go back and change, but they have actually ruined the generation in that way, not nurturing the right way. Actually, not everybody, it's not about everyone, but majority of the people.
There are
And I'm
cases,
talking
yes.
specifically on one state, which is Kerala. I have seen this. So this is very important that every child, every girl needs to be empowered with the education, be it any job. There is no big job and small job, as long as it is taking care of your 3-time food, the place to live, and your clothes. This is there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Try to build your career. This is important. No matter who comes into your life as your husband, or if you have your father within you, whatever it is, but are you capable of taking care of yourself is the question.
Is the question. Yes. So, Isha, you wear so many hats. You have all these talents. You do all these roles. So, this is the next chapter podcast, right? So, what is your next chapter? What should we be watching out for in the Isha book? What is the next chapter?
Okay. Okay, all right. So I always say that, some of the interviews people used to ask me, what is your biggest dream? What is your ultimate goal, etc. So I never used to set my ultimate or the last goal at all. But as I mentioned earlier, I keep putting my milestones. Like once this is achieved, I'll go for the other one. Then I'll go for the other one. So it's like it's on the go. And then, I don't want to stop my growth in any aspect. Okay, I have achieved everything, now I'm good. No, I don't want to think that. I'm like, I don't know if it is over ambitious. And if
There's nothing as over ambitious.
there is nothing like over ambitious. I want to grow as much as I want, So for me, in my current career, I am literally looking forward to get into a higher position for sure, and taking my entrepreneur journey into another twist, for that matter, having own IP to be launched into the market, and then create some impact into the world is what I'm looking at. And of course, entrepreneurship success itself is a task. It's a journey by itself. While you are going through a lot of things, and I want to. um I'm looking forward to produce, a movie in English, Hindi, and Arabic. So probably maybe next year, inshallah, if the time works out that I want to do. And a slight interest in the politics have generated these days. I had an opportunity last year, but then, I denied it thinking that, I need to still get old to get into the politics. But then I thought that politics is not something that you need to get into when you're old.
Yes.
But you need to get it's a job by itself. It's a career by itself.
And we have so many young examples now
Yes.
with such
Yes.
fire. Yes.
Right. So I'm looking forward to handle some diplomatic role as soon as possible,
Okay.
inshallah. And there are opportunities, if God willing, that is something that I wanted to pursue. But I want to set myself as a global woman that people know, or our kids talk about, um, making some impact to the world and changing, the way that the lens through which, especially girls look into for the technology, and how technology can be used for the betterment of the life.
Great, great. Looking forward to all of that, and we're really proud, as a woman, as someone from Kerala, as an Indian, all of it. Really, really proud. So that was Dr. Isha Farah Qureshi, a true force across the field of technology, identity, and impact. And we are so very proud of her, and very elated to have had her in our pilot episode. So, if her story made you think, made caused a perspective shift, share this forward, because these are the stories that needs to be shared, and these are the stories that creates that spark for writing your next chapter as well. So thank you. This is Mishana, and until the next time, keep writing your next chapter.